grade 1, you can cross out this box. Store is not something I teach. It's just a little bit too complicated. And I don't think it's very helpful. So exponential expressions, things we talked about with exponent rules. And remember, you do not need to memorize these. They are on your formula chart, except for this first one, right? If you have an exponent of 0, it equals 1. That is not on your formula chart. But the rest of these are negative exponents. You're going to flip it. So it would be 1 over whatever that was. This is a to the negative 3, so it becomes 1 over a to the 3rd. If you're multiplying, you're going to add the exponents. Notice the coefficients, right? That's just regular math. Sometimes we struggle with that. A power to a power, you're going to distribute, right? You're going to distribute on everything inside. So this became negative 2 squared, which is a positive 4. This is a 1 times 2 is 2, and a 3 times 2 is 6. If you're dividing, you're going to subtract. Again, that's only your exponents because your regular numbers, we're just doing regular math too. Okay? Are you recalling that? So if you're going through and you're not sure, you can always go back. I gave you the formula chart here on the front, and you can see right here, here are your properties of exponents. So it shows you power to a power, a product of powers, we're adding, dividing, we're subtracting. Here we're multiplying. Here if it's a negative, we'll write it like this. You should not see this one. Okay? So you don't have to memorize those rules. Feel free to look. So I want to do the we do's together, and then I'm going to give you some time to do the you do's. And then these last 3 questions, some of these you will have seen multiple times, like this one. That way you can go ahead and work through them. So let's look at this first one. Which expression is equivalent to 9x squared minus 4x plus 5 minus the quantity of 2x squared plus 3? Okay, what does it mean when we have this minus in front of this whole parentheses right here? Yeah, we're going to multiply. It's a negative 1, right? So we're going to have to, all we're doing here is collecting like terms. So for some of you, because you're very visual, right, this becomes a negative 2x squared. And what kind of 3 does this become? Does it stay a positive or become a negative? It becomes a negative. So if I do this, then I can look just like in elementary school, up and down, 7x squared minus 4x. What's 5 minus 3? 2. So which answer choices, and look, is it there? C. So this is not a situation where the calculator is going to help you. Okay? If they're asking equivalent expressions and there is a symbol in between these, we're going to have to distribute, and then we can collect like terms. Now that is different than what we saw the other day, where if you had this and there was nothing in the middle here, if you just had 2 parentheses next to each other, what does that mean? Multiply. Then you would FOIL or box. All right, does anyone have a question about that? All right, so what are you going to do down here on number 2? Again, it says equivalent, so what do we need to do? What does it mean when you have something right outside of a parentheses? Distribute or multiply. So when we do that, we have to do 3 times 2, which is what? 6. What is x times x squared? We're multiplying, so you get x cubed. So we're actually adding those exponents. There's a little 1 here. And then 3 times a negative 5 is negative 15. So what is x and x is x squared. And then 3x times 7 is 21x. So which one looks like that? Notice how we wrote all of that out. That's super important, even when you're looking at a computer screen, so that then you can check your answers. What would you choose here? B. You're right. That looks like a typo, because the only one it could be is B. So let's put R squared there. Good catch, Leslie. Good catch. All right, and then these are your favorite, these division ones. Do you remember how we used to write this all out? All right, well, let's review it because you're not sure. Look, when we divide, the rule is to subtract. Are we subtracting 16 and 8? No, because those are not like terms, right? It's just 16 divided by 8 is what? It's 2. All right, I'm just going to write my 2. And then what am I doing with my x to the 4th over x squared? We're going to subtract. So 4 minus 2. Remember, the numerator one goes first. What about y? 6 minus 3. Be careful on the z's, though. What's a negative 8 and then minus a negative 2? What happens there? Becomes a plus. So what's 4 minus 2? 2. What's 6 minus 3? What is a negative 8 plus 2? Is a negative 6. Where did we say negatives go? On the bottom. And then it becomes the positive. So which one looks like what we wrote? A. Now, when we got the 2, you probably could have chosen that, but I did want you to see what happened. All right, so I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 minutes, and I would like you to do the you do column. You can do that with your table, and then we'll go over it real quick, okay? All right, so here you had to distribute the 2, and you had to distribute the 3, and then you could collect like terms. Now, if you are not distributing and paying attention to those signs, so you should have gotten 8x minus 10 and a positive 12 and a negative 6x. Then if you didn't make those signs correct, when you combine like terms, you might not have gotten that one. How'd you do? Good? Okay. So on 2, this is the one we were just talking about. Distribute this negative 2/3. So I brought down my 9v squared. If you don't remember how to do operations with fractions, that's okay. You have this beautiful calculator here that can help you with that. So don't, stress yourself out. You can say negative 2/3 times 6, and it tells you negative 4. Don't forget your v. And then negative 2/3 times 4. This is kind of ugly. This is going to be a positive. A negative times a positive is a positive 8/3. And we still have this minus v squared. I'm actually going to move my minus v squared here because it goes with that. So I get 2v squared minus 4v plus 8/3. So be very careful here with your signs. If your signs are not right, you're going to mess up, but you should get B. On this last one, again, you have a fraction. We're not going to be fraction fraidy cats. If you put in 4/18, it's going to simplify it for you to 2/9. So you know the top has a 2 and the bottom has a 9. And then you can write it out. X to the negative 4 minus 2. Y to the 6 minus the negative 4. Be very, very careful there. And Z to the 5 minus 2. So what's a negative 4 and a negative 2? Negative 6. Where do negatives go? On the bottom. What happens with this double negative here? Okay, so then I just have 6 plus 4 is 10. Where does that go? That goes on the top. Good. And then 5 minus 2 is, where does that go? That goes on the top. So which one looks like that? C. This should actually be an A and a B, because my Z's look like 2's. So I put a line through them. Let's talk about slope and all the things you remember about slope. So you have a little face here. All right, the eyebrows. This eyebrow is a positive. This eyebrow is a negative. It's going up. It's going down. Remember, you read a graph from left to right. The nose, look, there's the bottom. So if a vertical line, it's undefined. And then here's the mouth with zeros on the end. So a horizontal line is going to have a 0 slope. A vertical line is going to have an undefined slope. And this is going to be whatever number we're crossing. Okay? Horizontal lines are not going to have, because there's 0 slope, it's just going to be a number. It's just going to be the constant A vertical line, again, there's no slope there because it's undefined. It's just going to be whatever number we're crossing. This is on your formula chart, FC formula chart. We also talked about change in y over change in x and rise over run. So this is more if you've got 2 points, this is going to be on a table, and this is going to be on a graph. Keep in mind the signs matter when you do slope, otherwise you're going to mess up. We looked at this the other day. This is the only one on here that is valid. Remember, when you graph, it's already in f of x. So if you are not graphing a y equals equation, you're going to have to change it. Intercepts are where the graph crosses the axis. X-intercept is where y is 0, also known as zeros, solution, root, x-intercept. Y-intercept is where x is 0. This is generally going to be your constant. Okay, so you can see here, y-intercept is crossing the y-axis, x-intercept is crossing here. So let's do a little review. Look at the we do's here, and then I'll give you some time on the you do. What is the y-intercept of this line? Okay, what's your strategy? Because this is not y equals. What is your strategy going to be here? We talked about converting yesterday. Minus the 7x. Can I put a 7x with a 35? No, but when you rewrite this, make sure you bring that negative down. And then what are we going to do? Because y is still not by itself. Divide by what? No. -5. Take that negative with you, otherwise your sign is going to be different. So y equals a negative divided by a negative is a positive. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. So which one of these answers is my y-intercept? Remember, the y-intercept is the value when x is 0. A. Notice, don't choose C. C is a what? A. That's an x-intercept or a solution. Someone else use that good vocabulary word. Okay? Looking at this one, you have a picture. What is the first thing you notice on that picture? It is negative. There is no x or y intercept listed. Very good. All of those are good things. So let's go to the question. What is it asking us about? The 0. What do we know is another word for 0? X-intercept. Okay, and as Ethan pointed out, it's not crossing. So what is our strategy here? You can find the slope. If you wanted, could we make a little table here? What can we do if we get a table? List and spreadsheet. So let's make a little table here. X and Y. What is this first coordinate right here? 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, 9. And then this one is 10, 11, 12, 6. So if we're going to go to list and spreadsheets, make sure you put your X and your Y in the top. And then what do we do? This is a linear, so what do we do from cell C1? Menu what? 4, 1. Which one of these is linear? 3. X and Y. You guys have become very, very good at this. Here's my equation. So I have y equals, I'm going to write that as a fraction, negative 3/4 x plus 15. Oh, right there, 15. That's my answer, right? It's right here. Oh, no, that's the y-intercept. That's not what we're asking. Okay, so how am I going to find my x-intercept? We can go to the graph. Absolutely. Did it save this or do I need to retype this? It saved it. You can retype it if you want. Control, doc, graph. And remember, if we go up, it saved it for us in f of 1. We can't see it, but that's okay. We don't really need to see it. Marley said to go to the table. Again, this is my y-intercept. I need to find, I'm going to have to to go all the way down to where y is 0. There it is. What's my answer? 20. Okay. Could I have also, because it's an x-intercept and I need the x value when y is 0, could I take this equation? Can I do n solve? Can I put 0 in for x? I'm going to make that a decimal again. But don't forget your comma x goes inside. We got the same answer. So lots of ways you could do that. But you got to get that equation first. Are we okay there? All right, last one of these. What is the rate of change? Oh, what's another word for that? The slope. What letter is slope? M. Slope is M of the cost in respect to the number of bagels. What's your strategy here? Definitely list in spreadsheets. I love it. Guys, go ahead and start a new one because sometimes if you don't have the same amount of data, it gets a little bit confuzzled. X and Y, 5, 9. Make sure you put those numbers in right. 12 and 15, 2.25, 3.65, 4.7, and 5.75. And again, this is still linear, so 4, 1, and 3. X and Y. All right, I got two different numbers here. Which one of these is my slope? What's my answer going to be? 0.35. 35 cents a bagel, that's not bad. All right, so I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 minutes, and I would like you to do these you-dos. All right, see what you can get done. So you should have gotten D for number 1. You should have realized that it was actually the same equation we did on the you-do, or the we-do. So if you're looking for the x-intercept, remember that's where y is 0. You could just use n solve. Did anyone do that by chance? Yeah. You just thought about it? You could plug in the numbers if you wanted. You could say 7x minus 5 times 0 is equal to 35, and you could say comma x. So you could get your 5 that way. Make sure, though, that you choose D and not B, because B is the y-intercept. Or we could change it to y equals like we did over here. We could graph and do the table like Marley talked about on number 2. Here, this was the same graph, so I didn't make the table again. I already had the equation, but now they're asking me about the slope, or the M. And I know it can't be A because this is going down. So it has to be a negative. Here, negative, that doesn't really help me. I did make my table. I wrote my equation. And I can see that it was, in fact, 20. Okay? So you've got 5 EOC questions on slope and y-intercepts. So we're going to draw a little squiggle line right here, and we're going to stop. So the rest of time, you're going to finish the EOC questions on packet 1, those last 3, and then you're going to do these 5. Tomorrow, we're going to grade the EOC questions on packet 1, all right?